Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. To deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. Hey, welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Therefore, our mission here is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give our love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. So thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure to listen, like, subscribe, and share, and follow us on all of our social media pages at the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. And also make sure you guys subscribe to our new podcast channel. So on YouTube. So we actually changed our podcast channel, and now it is called the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. That's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Originally, it was the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, which was my original podcast. But now we have the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on that channel currently. And we have two other podcasts that is coming up. And we're also working on producing some other podcasts. So make sure you go to the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network channel on YouTube in order to get all of our podcasts and to support us there. Make sure you guys subscribe. Also, I'm going to tell you guys how you can win $100 from the podcast, but you got to stay until the end of the episode in order to get that information. All right. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with the guest, Mr. Aaron. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I am good. First of all, let me say thank you for being here, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you are here with us, with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So we're going to jump right into it. Aaron, do me a favor. Introduce yourself to my listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and what it is that you do.
Sure. I'm Aaron DeVries with the Inclusive Dad. I live in Austin, Minnesota, Spam Town, USA. It's where Hormel is, where they make Spam, the lunch meat. Lived in Minnesota my whole life. I have two children. I have a son. He is 22 and a daughter who's 21. At 3 months old, my daughter was diagnosed with epilepsy, subsequently diagnosed with cerebral palsy. So as a dad, my son didn't have any health issues, so quote unquote normal. So my first parenting experience was with him, obviously, that kind of a situation. My daughter was born all of a sudden. I mean, I don't remember anybody when I was growing up having a disability, seeing anybody in wheelchairs, just wasn't aware of any of that. So having to learn all of the, systems that around that, specifically like the special education school system. I kind of refer to it as a parallel universe. There's regular education, and then this whole other thing that's supposed to kind of mesh, but sometimes doesn't. So I didn't know anything about it, needed to learn about it. The inclusive dad piece comes in. My daughter, because of her needs, was sent across town to like a segregated classroom. We went along with it because that's the school told us that, didn't know any better. Found out later that no, she could be in the class with the other kids. So started researching it, trying to get her back into that, and kind of took off as that was my whole kind of focus of her being more included in school. I've done a TEDx talk on inclusion 10 years ago. You can't see it, but I have an inclusion tattoo on my arm, so I'm fully in on the inclusion piece. I just feel that's the right thing to do. Everybody should feel included and belong. So that's kind of how I got here. What I do now is with the Inclusive Dad is I do speaking. And I also coach families, with kids in special education through the process. Just want to, like I said, I didn't know anything about it, had to learn it. Just want to take some stress off in that area so they can just enjoy, more time with their children and daughters, just being parents and enjoying that part of it. So that's a little bit about me.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I definitely would love to have you on the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and we can have that conversation.
Sure.
I definitely want to have that conversation for several reasons. So one, I did grow up around people in wheelchairs. I remember one of my mom's best friends growing up was a male who was in a wheelchair. He probably was one of the first people that I met that was in a wheelchair. And then one of our friends, their father was in a car accident, and which left him paralyzed from the waist down. And so having known him before, and then that happened, and then the whole transition of him being in a wheelchair. So I have that experience. And also I did home health care for 10 years. I think I just stopped last year. I think it was last year I just stopped just because my schedule just got too overwhelmed why I couldn't continue to do it. But I took care of two twin brothers who both were in wheelchairs. And so I've been around wheelchairs a long time, and people supporting people, in that space. And so I definitely want to have that conversation. And I think that it's amazing to have it here too, from the aspect of a dad, and dealing with it with your daughter. So I definitely would like to get more into that conversation. But just for starters, let's kind of just go back to the beginning. Well, I ask you this, just in your own words, what does it mean for you to be a girl dad?
That's a great question. I guess for me, it's a lot about, just trying to be the role model, be the male that, that she treat her with, fairly, love her, show her how she should be treated. A lot of it, I feel like for me is the protection piece, because I'm just trying to be, honestly, I've been overprotective at some places just because of the situation, but just, being protective, trying to guide her, show her the love and affection, those pieces.
Yeah. Sweet. So let's go back to, I know you said you had your son and you had your son first, but when it came to your daughter, how did you find out that you were going to be a dad in her case? And then did you guys wait to find out that it was going to be a girl later? Or did you guys was like, all right, let's find out right now?
No, for both of the children, we both of my kids, we didn't find out ahead of time. So it wasn't until they were born that we found out that we were going to have a daughter. and my children are, I didn't say it, but they're 15 months apart. So my son was born, and then my daughter was born 15 months later. So they were really close together also.
Good. And I'm guessing they were planned,
Yes. Yep. They for sure were planned. Yep.
Because I know sometimes, we have surprise, when you come home, your wife is like, hey, guess what? Okay, all right. So of course, you said you guys waited until your daughter was born, or both of your children were born, to find out what the sex was. And so at that time, when she was born, was that when you guys found out that she was diagnosed, with epilepsy was first, right? And then
it was epilepsy first, but we didn't notice. We didn't know she was having seizures till she was 3 months old. So for the first 3 months, there wasn't. I mean, the way we found out is we went to Christmas, and her mom's aunts, 2 of them are nurses, and they noticed she was like staring off to the side. So she might have been having, seizures before that, but that was the first time they recognized it. And then we went in and got testing done, and she was having seizures. So there was 3 months where she either wasn't having them or we just didn't notice it.
Oh, okay. So for myself, right? Because I don't know really what epilepsy details or cerebral palsy, for the most part, the scientific, or should I say that, from the doctor's point of view.
Yep.
So could you tell us a little bit about actually what those detail?
Sure. So the epilepsy piece means that she has seizures. So if you've had, I can't remember, she's 21. So if you've had a certain number of seizures, then they will diagnose you with epilepsy. For some reason, I'm thinking in my head it was 3, but I could be wrong. So you have the seizures. For her, she had different types. She had just kind of focal ones, but she also had grand mal. That's the full body shaking, that type of them. So that was the kind of seizure she had. The cerebral palsy, we actually never found out the cause of either the cerebral palsy or the epilepsy. Scans showed that she had brain damage, but there was nothing. The pregnancy was all normal, no problems. The birth was normal, so there was nothing to indicate like when it took place. But the scans revealed that there was some, the brain didn't, grow like it was like normally it would. So that was the cause of them, but we never found out the reason.
Okay. And I'm here, just so you know, I don't know why my picture like froze.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of like went out and came back in.
I saw that.
Just like stuck right there. I don't know what's up with that. But I'm here. I'm still here.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned about the experience of, having your daughter, getting her into school and then kind of putting her in another school. And I want to talk a little bit about that because you mentioned about with the work you do now with having helping other parents,
Sure.
who's kind of going through the same thing. And so I had a conversation recently with a friend of mine whose son has special needs, and even she was saying in our conversation, like, sometimes you feel so helpless as a parent. And she said she remember going to this meeting, to talk about her son, and she's at a table, and she's like on one side of the table, and on the other side is like maybe 5 to 10 people, and each one of them have something to say about her son and what he can do or can't do and whatever. And she's just like, as a mom, just feeling so helpless, trying to advocate on behalf of your child when it looks like you're outnumbered, what I mean? And then not necessarily having the resources too, because it's new to her, and he's young, so it's not like she's been on this journey a long time. Like, he's still a kid, so she's new to this space of trying to advocate on behalf of her son to make sure he gets the things that he needs. So if you could talk a little bit about, first of all, your experience and even how you go to help other, fathers and parents to advocate on behalf of their children.
Absolutely. See, a lot of what you described there. I mean, I have similar recollections of our experience. Like I said, I didn't know anything about it, so it was all new to me. So one story I can share is I remember when my son went into kindergarten. I mean, we went to like his I think they call them back to school conference, or just
Hmm.
you go meet the teacher, that kind of stuff. Well, his was we went there. It was me, his mom, and him, and then the teacher, just the kindergarten teacher. Like 5 minutes, like you drop off the stuff you needed to get for school, talk a little bit. Here's your locker, that kind of stuff. You leave. Well, after that, when we left to go to my daughter's conference, and like you just described from the person you talked about, it was the situation where we went from his, so I'm expecting walk in, same situation, teacher, 5 minutes you're out of there. Well, no, it was us on the one side of the table, and because of like her needs on the other side, it's not uncommon for us to have at least 10 people at the meeting, also the IEP meeting they call it.
Hmm.
So we had the exact same similar situation where you're as a parent on the one side, across the table is all these people. It's just to me, it was always felt like a power imbalance,
Yeah.
just because it's just the sheer numbers make it doesn't seem like it's balanced, obviously.
Yeah.
So that you have that experience, but then for me, like I don't do well with surprises. So coming from the kindergarten experience with my son, I was kind of, I said I was expecting that similar thing. It wasn't. So
Yeah.
then like I shut down, like what's happening? Like, why are all these people here? What's going on? And then, yeah, like you said, a lot of those meetings, I mean, they do testing, and the way they, relay the testing, a lot of it's like negative. Like your kid can't do this, they can't do
Yeah.
this, they can't do this, can't do this. So as a parent, you're hearing this, and it's all, I mean, most of it's negative. There's some, talk about strengths, but as a parent, you're hearing all the negative, negative, negative. So it definitely is I mean, I don't know what the word to describe it. It's not a fun experience, I guess.
Right.
And and as a parent, it's all you're hearing the stuff about your child, so it's super emotional. There's lots of emotions attached to it. I mean, I would try later on, as time went on and we kept going to meetings, to try to like before I went in, try to like take deep breaths, like kind of try to detach myself a little bit from the feeling part of it, but it's
Yeah.
still your kid. So what I do now is like I help families, in that when they're going through that. I mean, at some point, like I said, we kept trying to get her more included back into the classroom, which eventually required us to have an advocate come with us, to the meeting with us, and that just having somebody else besides you as a parent there changes the dynamic of the meeting.
Right.
You just bring somebody with you. So I do the same. I do that with my families now. Just, if they have questions, help answer questions. If they need resources, help, find them the resources. Definitely will attend meetings. The other advantage of having somebody with you at a meeting as a parent is like I said, for the parent, it's super emotional. I mean, for me, since I'm not the parent, it's still, I mean, it's hard for me to completely detach like stuff from my daughter, because obviously
Mhm.
it's still, I mean, it's just my daughter, so I have the emotions, but it's easier for me to, like listen to what they're saying. Not, they say something negative. It's easier for me as like not the parent to hear it, be able to, help them process it,
Right.
or, work through that part of it. So I'm just, getting alongside the families, because I mean, my daughter, she qualified under multiple categories for the IEP. She needs help with daily living tasks, like getting dressed and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot
Mhm.
of caregiving, caretaking all the time as well. So I just like coming alongside parents. I can help them. I can't obviously be with them at their home if they need that kind of a help, but I can like help support them in the school process to like take some of that off of their plate, so they can, have more energy to focus on, trying to be a parent. I hear that sometimes, like, I just want to
Yeah.
be their parent. I don't want to be the therapist and have to do all these things at home with them. I want to be just, just sit around and watch TV, at night or something.
Right. Right.
So that's kind of where I come in and just try to help take some of the burden off of them, so they can enjoy just time being a parent, being a dad, and spending time with your daughter, doing girl things, letting her paint your nails or play with dolls or whatever girls
Right.
likes to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to say thank you for that, because I remember having it, like I said, having this conversation with my friend, and her even having the conversation with me started crying,
Yep.
because it was that same thing. It's like it's so
Yep.
emotional, because it's emotional. And then from her point of view as being the mom, and I on my other podcast, I recently had a guest who has a platform called THIS Disability, right?
Okay.
That's the name of her thing, and
Sure.
her son is in a wheelchair,
Okay.
right? So I remember having a conversation with her, and her even telling me, as a mom,
Yep.
when they give birth to a child with special needs, they always kind of reflect that back on them, like, what is
Yeah.
wrong with me? What did I do wrong to
Right.
that my child is born
Yep.
this way? And so, with my friend telling me just her experience is like, I'm already feeling some type of way that my
Right.
son has these
Yep.
needs. And then I go into this room, and there's all these people telling me what he can't do.
Yep.
And I live with him, so I know all the things that he can
Yes.
do,
Yep.
and so it's just emotional. And I know if someone like yourself was by her side, she definitely would have appreciated having that help in that space.
Yep.
And so
Absolutely.
I want to say thank you on her
Well,
behalf, and for the families that I've worked with. Like I said, working in home health care, and working with families who has special needs kids, or adults, because my clients were adults. But so I just want to say thank you for her,
yeah, for
and
sure.
on behalf of those parents. So let's get a little bit back into even with your daughter, and you mentioned about just being able to be a dad and do girl stuff like paint your nails and things like that. So that being said, what are some of even the special things that you guys do together, when it comes to spending that daddy-daughter time?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, she's always been, I mean, I don't know if this is with, I hear it a lot where, I mean, like the daughters sometimes tend to like dad, stick kind of leaning more towards the dad. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she's always been like, if I was around, she want me to, be with her, do stuff with her. So I was out. I mean, if she had earaches at the nighttime, I was the one, walking around the house, taking care of her. But she's kind of gone through phases. I mean, there was times where she liked to play Monopoly. Like we'd play Monopoly. She could play it for hours. Like just we're talking 2-3 hours. Just keep playing and playing. Now she lives with her mom. So her mom and I are divorced. So she lives with her mom full time, but then she comes over to my house one Wednesday nights and then on the weekends. So she was here last night, and what we usually do is she likes to play Nintendo. So I bought one of those old. It's not the original Nintendo, but it's like a small box, looks like it, and they have like
Yeah,
preloaded games on it. So she like
yeah,
we
yeah,
play a lot of Super Mario 3 on there. So she likes to do the levels where you kill the little turtle monkey guys where they throw the
yeah,
little stuff. So
yeah,
we play a lot of Super Mario. She likes playing War, the card game War, where you flip over cards and see who's got the
yeah,
higher one. But another thing we really like doing together is like listening to music. So like going to concerts. She loves to listen to music, sing, all that kind of stuff. So that's always been kind of a nice thing we do together. I guess the other thing, which, like I said, we live in Minnesota, and right now the weather's not so good. But when it's
mm,
nice out, we like going for walks, like around the lake and stuff. Just getting
mm.
outside, enjoying the nice weather, going around town and stuff. So those are some things we like doing together.
Yeah, yeah, that's always good. I that's one of the things I love, getting out in nature and getting some sun on your face,
Yep.
And I tell people all the time, especially living in the city, because I'm right outside
Yep.
Chicago. So when
Yep.
you live in the city and you're used to that city, environment, is so much peace and things that you find when you just go out in nature.
Yep.
Just go on a trail walk or something like that, and go out in nature, get some sun on your
Yep.
face, and it just brings, definitely to me at least, just like a whole sense of peace. That you
For
don't get
sure.
in the
Yep.
city.
Yeah, we have a small lake. I mean, they call it a lake, but that we walk around nearby, so we can leave the house and get on the path around that and walk around and see like ducks and geese and stuff. So that's always fun to do.
Yeah, yeah. And I know the we have a pond by my house, and so I love turtles. I actually have two
Okay.
pet turtles and fish, but they have a big pond by my house, and they actually have turtles in there. So
Oh,
they got
nice.
like little rocks in the middle of the pond, and
Yep.
then like in the summertime, you'll see the turtles come out and sit on the
So,
rocks and
yep.
try to
Yep.
sell out. Yeah, so
Yep.
I love that.
That's
Love those
awesome.
rocks.
Yep.
So as I know, as dads, we're always, teaching our daughters, from the time they're small and until they're adults, and we're teaching them different things. But one of the things that I also know that while we're teaching them, they're also teaching us, right? And so
Yep.
not only are they also teaching us, but they also encourage us to change in ways that we probably didn't realize until maybe afterwards.
Yep.
So if you can think about just in your experience as being a girl dad, what is something that your daughter has taught you, something that you've learned from your daughter, and then what would probably be something that you personally have changed for the better because you're a girl dad?
Mm, I mean, a couple things come to mind. The first thing comes to mind that definitely probably isn't so much because I'm a girl dad, just like her being born and you know being brought into the circle of the have her having being diagnosed with epilepsy and cerebral palsy. That just changed as a dad overall. Just my perspective on life. Like it's not all about working 80 hours a week and just the money part and making sure you have money and stuff. It's more about like
Yeah.
I don't know. She had 90-minute grand mal seizures when she was younger,
Mm.
like where her whole body's convulsing, was flown a couple times via helicopter. So just that whole piece of like life is, you have no idea what's going to happen in the even day to day or in the moment. So just focus more on like the important stuff. That's a big thing. Like I said, it's not completely because she's a girl, but that's kind of wrapped in. The other piece that she kind of taught me is, like I said, she loves music and always loves going to church. And she'll just start singing and just belting out the song in her own voice, her own way she sings. And just more than once, I've just kind of, listened to her singing, stared over her, like just that pureness about it, where she just is worshiping God, just singing, and just it's just so pure. And like, man, I wish I could do what she does and just sing, not care what anybody thinks. You know what I mean? Just that
Yeah.
part of it. So just, and I feel like I'm getting better as I'm getting older, but like it's still I'm still worried about what other people think of me. So that part I'm not to where she's at, but definitely she's taught me to like, just be yourself, be true to yourself, just be pure about what you're doing, and that's what matters. So those are those pieces, and then just the specific girl thing. It's just, as I feel like a lot of the meetings I go to and stuff, there isn't a lot of dads there. So I feel like I'm more kind of a nurturing probably person
Hmm.
overall, but just like I said, taking each day at a time, trying to help make the world a better place for her and other people that have accessibility issues. So those are kind of the lessons that she for sure has taught me.
All right, all right, all right. So last question before we go into our next segment. As a dad, so far, what would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments?
Hmm. I guess one of my biggest accomplishments is just being able to, um, like I said, maybe switch my mindset of not just work, and do that stuff. Just trying to be more, focused on what I feel is important stuff. Being there for her if if she needs me, she's not having a good day or she's having a seizure. Being able to just drop stuff, get there, help her, be that person she knows I'm going to be there if she needs help or things aren't going well. So just being somebody that she can depend on to be there when she needs me.
Yeah. And I like the what you said about the work part, not necessarily letting work, getting your space,
Yep.
getting your way for being there. And that's one of the stories that I share. One of the things that I plan on doing with the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is to have a uh, annual daddy daughter dance for
Okay.
dads and daughters of all ages, right? And
Sure.
one of the reasons why is because when my daughter was younger, she had her first daddy daughter dance. Well, she probably was like maybe 7 or 8, around that age. She was really young,
Okay.
and I had to work. And so I said, well, I'll miss this one and I'll catch the next one.
Yep.
And like I said at the beginning, my daughter's going to be 21.
Yep.
There never was a next one,
Okay. Yep.
So that's one of the things I regret. And so when I do talks or keynotes, when I'm talking to groups of dads, that's one of the things I emphasize. Like, make sure you're taking out the time
Yep.
um, to be there for those special moments, because there's no guarantee you're going to get another chance. There's no
Yep.
guarantee there's going to be another moment like that one, that you can have with your daughters. So that's one of my regrets as a father. And so I definitely going to be planning that, to start doing that and having those daddy daughter dances with my daughter, first of all, but then with the other girl dads too, to
Right.
have that. And I really look forward to doing that. So we're gonna jump right into the next segment, and I don't know why my picture is froze. That's just so weird. I'm looking at my face, and then it's like a mean face too. So
Yeah,
now
you're kind of growly looking.
it just caught me at the wrong second,
Right.
right? But that being said, we're gonna jump right into our next segment of the podcast, which is called the Getting to the Core segment. And so this segment is kind of built around the ebook, The Core Four, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. That ebook I wrote, and you can, to my listeners, you can get your copy at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. There's also some other ebooks there, but the Core Four is one of my favorites. And so, Aaron, I sent you a copy of the Core Four, and for my listeners who haven't had a chance to find out about the Core Four is the 4 values that I felt and feel is most important as the foundation of the relationship with your daughter as a father. And I draw my ideas from, again, watching my dad raise my 5 sisters, and then my experience of raising my own daughter, but then also with conversations with the fatherless daughters who are in my life or that I'm friends with, and putting all those together to come up with what I believe are the core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father. And so for my listeners, those 4 values are guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection. So, Aaron, out of those 4, if you had to choose one that's most important to you to instill in your daughter or provide for your daughter, what value would that be?
Hmm. Which, wow, that's a good question because they're all. I mean, I read it after you sent it to me, and they're all like I feel like important. So, what's the most? Like I said, that I like them all, but I feel like the one that's jumping out is the affirmation piece. Just
Mhm.
telling her. I mean, I from an early age, like like you're beautiful, pretty, smart, strong. I mean,
Yeah,
that part of it, just trying to tell her those things for her self confidence and self esteem and self worth. I mean, that to me is probably the big one. But like I said, the other one for me, I guess, is second probably would be I don't know, protection probably, because just the whole just because of her extra needs. I just feel like the protection piece is probably stronger with me, just trying to keep her safe. Keep her safe in the world and stuff. So those would be the big 2. But like I said, the affirmation, always just say you're beautiful, you're smart, you're strong. Just those one, that's pretty important.
Yeah, yeah. And so, last question. The ebook is called The Core Four, which is the four core values. But if there could be a fifth value that you could add, what would that fifth value be?
Oof. Um, I guess what pops to mind for me is just, I mean, another tattoo I have is love thy neighbor. So just wanting to, the whole golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Love your neighbor. The empathy, that part of it. That's probably
Yeah,
more than one value, but just treating everybody with respect, treat how people how you want to be treated. Love everybody. Those that would be what I would want to get through to her, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that too. So
cool, cool, cool. I love it. I love it. So, Aaron, I want to say thank you for being on, man, and thank you for sharing your story. I definitely want to get you on the Deal to Heal podcast, so we
sure,
really go deep into the inclusive dad part of it.
sure,
But I want you to leave. I want you to leave our listeners with a word of advice or a word of inspiration. Have you feel? Maybe even a dad tip for a new dad or something like that, however you feel.
sure,
And also leave us with your social media handles where we can find you and follow you. And especially for those parents who may need your assistance,
sure,
on the other side of that table, definitely want you to leave that information so that they can reach out to you. And I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Make sure you guys are following us and checking us out on our websites, our main website, which is the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. That main website has all the information about everything that I do as far as speaking and doing workshops. And the original podcast, which was the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, and our inspirational teas and all of that, all our things that we do can be found on that website to get more information. Also, make sure you guys are checking us our inspirational t-shirt line at deal the number two heal tees, deal to heal tees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there again, deal to heal tees.com, to check out our inspirational t-shirt line, and also get your t-shirt of the podcast. Well, I would say you can see the one that I'm wearing, but my picture is frozen for whatever. So you can see like the top of it, but it's basically our logo, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast logo, and there also is the T-shirt with the logo of the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast on there. So definitely go there, check out our inspirational T-shirts lines, and our two podcast T-shirts for the podcast. And last but not least, if you go to ebooksbyejames.com, again, that's ebooksbyejames.com, not only can you get your own copy of the core four, which is the four core values that every daughter should get from her father, but there's also an ebook called From Males to Men, which is a male mentoring book for young boys that's coming into manhood, as well as some other ebooks there. Even an ebook about starting your own podcast, which is called Start Your Podcast Now. So there's a lot of information there. The links will be in the descriptions below. So definitely make sure you guys check those things out and support us in that way. Also, make sure you guys subscribe to our text line. You can just text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730 to receive text message about new episodes, book release, event information, and everything that's going on with the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as we have new things as they air and as we release it. Again, so text the word subscribe to the number 866-326-0730. Also, one thing that I'm glad the last year or so I've had the privilege of being a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And one of the things that we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year talking about forgiveness, what it is, what it's not, what it means to forgive yourself, what it means to forgive others. I think it's a very important conversation that we need to have. And so you guys can take part of those free virtual workshops. Again, it's virtual. You can take it on your phone. You can take it on your laptop. It's completely free. And it's every quarter. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either one, we just had one, or is one coming up. So you can go to forgivenessmission.com in order to register for our next virtual workshop, or just go to Eventbrite and register, look up Forgiveness Workshop, and you'll find us there. Last but not least, I told you guys that I would tell you how you can win $100 from the podcast. So you can win $100 from the podcast by joining our super subscriber contest. What that means is you must subscribe to our YouTube channel, to our Facebook page, and to our podcast on Spotify. Then text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730 to qualify to win $100. The contest is random and it's ongoing, which means once you're in, you can always win. You don't have to re-up again. You can always win once you're in there. Just make sure when you text the word WIN, W-I-N, to the number 866-326-0730, you also leave your contact information so that we can contact you to let you know if you are our $100 winner. That being said, Mr. Aaron, once again, I want to say thank you so very much for coming on and sharing your story and your expertise. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun for me as well. One tip I guess I would like to share with other girl dads is just, when you're with your daughter, just be present, put the phone down, just focus on spending time with her and getting, strengthening that relationship. The best way to get in touch with me is that QR code you see on the screen. Just you can connect with me on that, or go to my website, theinclusivedad.com. Would be the best place to connect with me. Also, I've had one of these already, but I'm going to continue once a month having a networking meeting on Zoom for dads, other dads of children with disabilities. So I'll have information about that on my website as well, but just wanting to connect more dads. Dads need a place to talk about, the things that are going on in their lives as well. So this is an opportunity for other dads to connect and talk about, share what's going on in their life, and, get support from other dads. So thanks for having me on. I had a great time.
No problem. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to spread the voices of girl dads to the world and give them our love and support to our dads and our daughters. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else. That the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.